Hi, I'm Dan Lagani with Silver Solutions. Welcome to this edition of AgeWise, the show to make you a little smarter about the things that you and your family face as you grow older. Today, our guest is absolutely a fascinating person, Myrna Blyth, the Editorial Director of AARP. We're going to talk about AARP. We'll cover things that are related to the pandemic. We'll talk about trends in media, and we'll even get a little bit of Myrna's own personal story. Before we get into that, though, let me give you some of Myrna's background. She is one of the most accomplished and powerful voices in media and has been for decades. She ran Ladies' Home Journal, one of the largest publications in America, for over 2 decades, winning multiple awards. During her time there, she also started a brand called More, targeting older women, and a fascinating process in and of itself. She's been the author of over 4 books. She's actually even served on the chairmanship of the Fellowship Council at the White House. Myrna Blyth of AARP, welcome to AgeWise.
Thank you, Dan. It's nice to see you and talk to you.
Absolutely. You know, Myrna, one of the things that's clear is AARP is a brand that is extraordinarily well known. But I think at times it's well known for parts of what you do, but not everything. We certainly know the card. Many of us even know the seniors' Medicare supplement insurance. But in your words, what does the organization cover and what should we know?
AARP does many things. Basically, it's a nonpartisan nonprofit. And what it tries to do is empower people to live as they choose as they age. And it does that in a variety of ways. It is concerned about health and supporting the things people need for their health, their wealth, keeping financial resiliency. They certainly are very supportive of Social Security and Medicare for people. They're interested in yourself, your life. So health, wealth, and self is what we focus on, and in a variety of ways. The most impressive thing, perhaps, is we have 38 million members. There is no organization in the world as large as AARP.
Really fascinating to hear that many pieces. When you think from an insider's perspective about some of the extraordinary things that the organization does, what's one of them that pops out that you wish was better known by the 38 million members?
Oh, well, the 38 million members certainly know what we do. We tell them. And I would say one thing that in general people don't know is that our magazine, AARP, the magazine, is the best read magazine in America. We have 38 million readers, not only our members, but other people as well. We also have a kind of newspaper called AARP Bulletin that is sent out 10 times a year to 22 million homes and probably is the best read newspaper in America. We also have a website that has 26 million unique visitors. We have studios where we produce videos and documentaries. We have a book division that publishes about 12 to 14 books a year with other publishers. So our information arm is extremely powerful and important and valuable to our members. You get the magazine, you get the bulletin if you are a member. And that's one of the reasons people renew to keep getting that magazine and that bulletin.
Myrna, in the year 2020, it's hard to have virtually any conversation without the word pandemic coming up. How has that affected the kind of emphasis and efforts that you've either covered through the media at AARP or the organization itself has had to deal with?
Tremendously. For example, our website has done incredible coverage. I mean, it started in January about coronavirus, and our content on the website is so authoritative and valuable that, for example, Facebook has included us in their corona section. You do realize this disease particularly affects our members. Of the many tragic deaths in America, 95% of those deaths are people over 50. 80% are people over 65. So this is a disease that truly has affected the old in our country. And we've covered that. We've We give warnings, we've given advice, everything from the latest medical advice to how to keep your glasses from fogging up when you're wearing a mask. A very popular piece, by the way. And so, as I say, we really looked at this, and it is an important subject for us and has driven traffic to us because people know we're exactly the right people to give information about this.
I'm not surprised to hear that it's driven traffic. And one of the things that jumps out to me, and some of this is just anecdotal through my own family and my mom, the concern around physical health to the older population is quite clear, and you just referenced it. I think one of the concerns that is massive that hasn't gotten enough coverage is the issue of isolation for the older population. Have you written anything about that, or does the AARP have resources that can help address that issue?
Absolutely. We've written a great deal about it. We also do teletown halls, getting experts on. You can listen through on your phone, you can watch on YouTube or on Facebook, and we've done many on a health, emotional health. Another subject we are covering is nursing homes. And it is truly an American tragedy what has happened in nursing homes in our country. We're doing a massive report on this in the December bulletin and following it up in the January, February bulletin of what should be done. In fact, more people have died in nursing homes in these 6 months than died in all the years in Vietnam. It's a real tragedy, and it should never happen again.
So, without giving away any of the real details in the upcoming article, have we learned anything? Have skilled nursing facilities and assisted living communities gotten better some 6 or 7 months into the pandemic?
I think so. I think they are more prepared now. They, of course, understand testing and isolation, keeping people quarantined. They do. They have learned some things, but it's very interesting, and it's very interesting to understand the business of nursing homes, which, as I said, what I love about my job is I learn things from the pieces we publish. I learn things from what the writers do.
Myrna, you talked about the demographic of AARP being adults over 50. In your view, what's the thing that either marketers or the media get wrong about that demographic regularly?
Well, what marketers get wrong is not marketing to them. This is a population that still has money, still spends money, in fact, has quite a bit of money in our country, and they tend to ignore them. So marketers tend to ignore those who they should market to and look to the young, and that's happened for a long time. There is a belief that older people won't change their brands. And when I worked at Moore, I used to say, this is a divorced generation. If they could change their husbands or their wives, they can change their brands.
You also commented earlier and made the point that AARP is nonpartisan, which is a rarity at this moment in history that we live. So the question here is, in spite of the fact that there seems to be a divide in America now between Republicans and Democrats, is the notion of demographic of a group over 50 or older adults over 65, is that more powerful and unifying than political parties?
That's an interesting point. We have done a lot during this election season to make people realize how important the older voter is. I mean, the older voters vote more than anyone. And there was some belief that if the older voters would change their party in this election, it would really affect the outcome. We interviewed both President Trump and Vice President Biden in our bulletin. And the questions we asked them were about Medicare, Social Security, about health concerns, about pre-existing conditions, even if President Trump wanted to change Obamacare or not. So we know. And the way the candidates talk so much about health, they were talking to the older voters as well as being concerned about the current coronavirus, the current pandemic.
Again, one of the great things about your job currently and what you've done for years is you get exposed to fascinating people. Which celebrity or powerful or famous person, whether it was at Ladies Home Journal, More Magazine, or today at AARP, was the most interesting person to cover for you?
That's really hard. As a journalist, I interviewed a lot of people, from Elizabeth Taylor to Robert Redford to Bette Midler to Claire Booth Luce to and of course the president, Reagan. I interviewed a whole bunch of people, and I guess I would say they were all famous. Katharine Hepburn, I interviewed several times, and she was Katharine Hepburn. But somebody in Hollywood once said to me, actors are acting when they do an interview. Let's be honest. Who would tell a perfect stranger anything really revealing or intimate unless they were a very, person quite willing to be like that? And real stars are not willing to be like that. So they're acting themselves. And as somebody said, when they're negotiating points, that's when they're really themselves.
You've seen a lot of change in even the technology and the way that the content gets delivered in your time. Do covers matter as much in a world where the internet is so dominant in how you consume media?
Well, let's be honest, AARP, the cover matters because you want them to open the magazine. And we do a lot of research on the magazine. And when there's a cover personality they love the whole issue more. The music celebrities do very well at AARP. We all have a feeling about music that has been part of our lives. Willie Nelson, I know Bruce is going to do great. Smokey Robinson, even Santana, because it was associated with Woodstock, did great on the cover. So because music is us as well as them. And so we really love to read about it. I know Bruce will do great on the current issue.
One of the things that strikes me as you talk about the size of the AARP membership and the fact that the demographic actually starts at 50 and not 65, as you've reminded me over time and many people think, is that you can actually have child and parent both as members. If you could tell adult children anything that would help them be better and more supportive of what their parents are going through as they age, what would that be?
I think at this moment, when you can see your family, they tend to be closer. We're valuing them more. And at the same time, when you can't see them, you are lonely and miss them more. So you do want the phone call from the person. You're the adult child. You do want the phone call. You do want to be able to chat about something, because people are more separated from their friends. So you want your children, I would say older parents want their children to serve a little bit like friends at this time and be able to talk about the election or talk about whether they're going to get together for Thanksgiving or how to have a Zoom party on Thanksgiving. I think that, especially at this moment, is significant.
Wonderful advice. Myrna, you spend your time professionally between New York and Washington, D.C. What's your take on each city? What do you love about each and what's different about each?
I have a son who lives in Washington, so I'm quite familiar with Washington, and a grandson. But New York is New York, and I'm a New Yorker. However, because of this current circumstances, New York is not quite New York. And for example, many friends have left and moved to Florida or Vermont or East Hampton. So I think the current crisis will affect us for years to come.
So moving beyond a couple more years and maybe a final thought, what's the biggest thing, the biggest opportunity, the biggest change that is facing older adults over the next 10 years?
The biggest change is technology. Everyone has accepted that we are living on screens as much as we're living anywhere else. We have accepted telehealth, that you can check in with your doctor through telehealth. We've accepted Zoom as a way to talk to people. We've accepted virtual tours of things. So again, we will increase our reliance on technology. Older people are certainly learning. I don't have to tell you that everybody streams, and that's older people. So, I mean, it's really changing us, and that will continue. So being comfortable with technology, being able to use it to make it available, that's the greatest change for us all. but especially for older people.
Myrna Blyth, Editorial Director of AARP, thanks so much for joining us today at AgeWise and for making us a little smarter about the things that we're going to face as we grow older. If you like this episode of AgeWise, please share it with your friends. And if you're looking for other episodes, visit our website at silversolutions.com and just click on the video tab to see all of the shows in the series. I'm Dan Lagani. For all of us here at Silver Solutions who work hard every day to keep your mom and your loved ones safe at home, thanks for joining us. Be safe and age wise.